One of the most commonly asked questions in Destiny 2 is how do you get high stat armor and the elusive triple 100 stat builds. This video is going to answer just that, and fortunately this year's Solstice of Heroes event brings with it one of the easiest high stat armor farms available in Destiny 2, perfect for free to play guardians, those who don't access endgame activities, and especially those who just have bad RNG. There's a few in-game currencies involved and a relatively simple method to the madness, but once you do get it down, you'll have high stat armor on tap to get maximum resilience, and you'll also be able to manipulate the rolls to be exactly what you require for triple or even quadruple 100 stat builds on all three of your characters. Aside from the Solstice weapons, this year's event is essentially a god-rolled armor farm. To do this, you have to imbue your armor, which allows you to select exactly which stat on any piece of armor you want to get a 20 stat roll. This can give you the spiky stat drops, which is what every endgame player wants. However, to get to this point, there's a few crucial steps that you need to cover first. After you've started the event by speaking to Ava in the tower and completing your first Bonfire Bash, you'll need to start farming for silver leaves. This material is key to the god-rolled armor farm, and fortunately it is relatively easy to collect. Completing any in-game activity will grant you an amount of silver leaves as long as you are wearing any of the Sunlit Armor from this year's Solstice event. The more pieces of armor that you have equipped will drop more silver leaves for you, but as long as you have one piece of the Solstice armor equipped, you'll still get some leaves to drop. The best place to farm this currency consistently is the Altar of Sorrows event in Sorrows Harbour on the moon. This is because you'll get a couple of silver leaves for each tier that you complete, and then on beating the final boss you'll get between 10 to 20 silver leaves depending on the number of Sunlit Armor pieces that you have equipped. This is perfect for solo players due to the event being match made, and even fire teams will find this a breeze, with a full run taking about 15 minutes at the most. There's a few other cheeses about, like checkpoint farming certain campaign missions, but in all honesty just play the activities you enjoy the most. Once you have hit the cap of 100 silver leaves in your inventory, you'll need to head into the Bonfire Bash event. Completing this will turn your silver leaves into silver ash, and it's these that you'll be using to imbue your armor to get the 20 stat points in your desired stat. It's important to mention that whilst you're doing all of this farming for leaves and ash, you need to keep an eye on the Solstice Event challenge card and complete the bounties. Completing these will grant you kindling, which you'll need to fully rekindle the Solstice armor so that you can imbue your armor for the focus stat rolls. You'll need 6 kindling per armor piece to fully rekindle it, and once you have fully rekindled a piece of armor, you won't need to do it for subsequent pieces. Once it is fully rekindled and is glowing, you'll be able to focus your stat roll, and this will cost you 120 silver ash in total per armor piece. You can only re-roll stats once per armor piece once you have fully rekindled it though, so you'll need to buy more from Eva if you don't get the stats that you desire. Before you move on to focus your armor though, make sure you've equipped a Ghost Armor mod. These Ghost Armor mods will give your selected stat a minimum of 10 stat points, and although you won't be able to stack these with the armor focusing from imbuing, you will be able to split 30 stat points on 2 stats to try get that ideal spiky roll that you've been looking for. Now you can use this knowledge to essentially trick the game to give you the exact stat distribution that you want for your builds. Everything is based around the 6 key stats, and the game technically splits these into 2 brackets, with a maximum of 68 stats per legendary piece of armor, split between 34 in the top and bottom brackets. There's mobility, resilience and recovery in the top bracket, which are linked to hunters, titans and warlocks class abilities respectively, with discipline, intellect and strength in the bottom bracket affecting your other abilities and super cooldowns. Knowing how to manipulate these will get you the ideal stat drops for your guardian from this point forward, and when paired with the imbuing process, it'll make it even easier. First, you'll need to focus on subscribing to the channel if you haven't already. Some say that it is a guaranteed way to get your god-rolled high stat armor. Intellect though is probably the most redundant stat at the moment in most activities, so ideally you'll never want to have this one focused on your ghost or in your imbued Solstice armor. So the key here is to focus on discipline or strength, and to do this you need to equip either the discipline or strength armorer ghost mod. This works passively on all armor drops and will help to max out that stat on your lower bracket, giving you a greater chance at spiky stats in the top bracket. This means you'll be likely to get the stats that you want for your builds as required for your hunter, titan or warlock. Getting a high discipline stat as standard will absolutely enhance nearly every single build in Destiny 2, especially with the ability spam meta from the subclass 3.0 updates. Then I'd recommend to imbue either recovery or resilience on your Sunlit Solstice armor, with high resilience arguably being the best for this, to benefit from the up to 30% damage resistance at tier 100. This frees you up to look for high mobility or recovery recovery stats, and then you can chuck a base stat armor mod into the mix, as well as masterworking your best pieces of armor to get the excellent well-rounded stats across your armor heading towards your triple 100 builds or better. Despite this being aimed at the Solstice event, this method is absolutely vital if you decide to farm for artifice armor in the master dungeons, or even high stat armor offered by certain endgame activities like master raids or repeatable weekly missions. To be honest, even the majority of my build videos don't rely on maximum stats, triple or even quadruple 100 stat builds in any way. However, if you were to lean into these stats, some of them would make your guardian cracked out of their mind. But now that you've maxed out your armor stats, make sure to try out this build next.